Why is everyone fat and stupid?
It's a show time!
A good variety of people. Some people have been able to come some weeks and not other weeks, or some months and not other months. And so we've had a really interesting variety of people, and we've had a lot of fun conversation.
Well, now, where did you grow up?
I grew up from the SAC, Sacramento.
Oh, you grew up in Sacramento.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a left-wing media and a right-wing media. You know, a left-wing media and a right-wing media. You know, a left-wing media and a right-wing media. That's not what the problem is at the moment. I think that the problem is that a lot of this stuff is just actually disingenuous. Right? People know that you are not a Nazi.
We hot, we clock, but we don't smoke rock from all words. They make people stop. Discrimination is not allowed, because I'm determined to excite the crowd.
That is almost certainly going to fuel the far right. Mm-hmm. It's not efficient for me to go after the far right because, I mean, of course I'm going to be anti-Nazi and anti-skinhead, right? Mm-hmm. But
why is everyone fat and stupid?
And you're coming from, I guess, a very different place in terms of you live in that sacred world, you live in that Christian world.
And handed down through the generations and always available to us if we are open to it.
So what does he represent to you?
Here's a question. Why is everyone fat and stupid? That's a question, man. Because it's new.
Is it?
Yes, it is. It's new. And it's not sedentary lifestyle. That hypothesis doesn't seem to hold water.
The first thing I saw was Christians read this book that says we live under a dome and God is up and the world is down and there's people under the world. They live in that space during church, and then they go out into the world and we're on a globe and we're flying through space. And when I listen to Jordan Peterson, churches always talk about God coming from above. And that right now is getting nowhere with huge groups of people. And here Jordan Peterson was coming from below, and he's trying to connect heaven and earth again, which is why the conversation always goes back to the physical nature of the resurrection. So I watched this and I thought, and then I listened to a lot of people watching him saying, I'm interested in going to church and I'm interested in exploring this. And it was very clear Jordan Peterson was rocketing up the hierarchy and not everybody was going to get a chance to sit down and talk to him. And, well, I'm available. And so they find me. And so then as a Christian minister, I'm a proxy, that's right. I'm way down at the low end of the feeding chain, which is okay by me. I pastor a small church, I like small things. What's exciting about it is we get to do what we're doing now, sitting and talking face to face. This is what I enjoy.
I saw these priests in the church with their glitter and their golden crowns and all this theatrical setting, and to me it made no sense. To me it looked very fake. And I knew that if God exists, and I knew He exists, He is much more supreme than that, than this show with these golden suits and dressed up like clowns with golden crowns. I knew that this is not serious. This is not what God wants. This This is not walking around with candles and circles. This is not what God's after. I knew it.
The Ayatollah in Iran came out with a proclamation that it was okay to have gender reassignment surgery. So it's not like traditional cultures don't know about this.
Hi, this is Paul, and if you've been watching my videos because of my Jordan Peterson content, you probably know that I've been enthusiastic about Jordan Peterson.
I thought, okay, whatever. I can hang by my fingernails from the windowsill for a month. It's like, it's just not that big a deal.
And I frankly don't understand how Sam gets to his values from his own perspective as basically a materialist neurobiologist. It doesn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense to me. So how do we find that set of common values, or should we just stop asking the question? Basically, should I just be happy that Sam and I agree on this stuff, and then we sort of let it go at that? I'm happy to do that, but I'm not sure that. I think that the reason, in my perspective, that we argue about this stuff is because I think that Sam's perspective on values, well, I agree with his values, is unsustainable in the long run, and it's not sustainable beyond the people who
really like Sam and follow Sam, whereas I think that at least trying to appeal to some source of objective morality that's beyond my own reason is replicable and has been replicable throughout human history.
And so the movement was to try to find certainty and therefore community, because I think generally speaking, the search for certainty is also a search for community. And we see that deeply in science and technology. But this search that is happening is so basically what happened was the Darwin changes in assumptions about history. Rachel Brown made some really good comments. I watched the conversation between Jonathan Pizot and Rachel Brown. There were some really good elements in that conversation too, where so both of them are medievalists, and in the medieval period there was this multivocal reading of the text. You could have the symbolic element of the text or the literal element of the text. You had all of these symbolic elements in the text, and what happens in the Reformation is that, you know, basically the Reformation takes a hammer to all of this. Now, I'm a Christian Reformed pastor, so I got to be careful about the Reformation. From a very young age, when you hear Reformation, you learn to salute. And Peterson comes at them as a phenomenological pragmatist, and that deeply impacts basically how you approach life. And I talked about this quite a bit in my last video when I talked about Scott Adams. It's almost as if the modernists are approaching truth like a movie, and truth is something truth is something that we fundamentally see. It's something that's, you know, a little bit distant from myself. It's something that's separate from myself. Whereas for Peterson, truth is much more active, and reality is not a movie that we're watching, but reality is a form for action. And, you know, there's a lot in the Bible about that. Jesus, for example, tells a parable of two sons, and one son, the father tells the sons, go do this, and one son says he would and he doesn't, and the other son says he wouldn't and he does, and Jesus says, okay, which one was obedient? And so Christianity has built within itself this bias for action, and you can find this regularly throughout the parables of Jesus. Now, at the same time, Christianity also has a bias for belief. But part of what happens in our conversations with respect to this is, pistis, for example, the Greek in the New Testament for this word that usually gets translated believe, is also have faith. And I remember early in the ministry, I once did some switching, and I had to lead a Bible study or something, and I switched all of believe for have faith and switched the word faith for belief in a copy of the Bible that I handed out, and people started getting annoyed because it sounded too active. It sounded too it basically sounded too active, and with some of the traditions that have come up, especially in Protestantism, there then was raised a question of faith versus works. And this is a conversation that regularly comes up within Protestantism, not so much in the Roman Catholic tradition. Again, I really have to upgrade my knowledge of the Orthodox tradition. The Orthodox Church is quite a latecomer to the American scene, and that's really important to remember. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens to the Orthodox Church in the next 100 years, now that it's here in America.
The Tommy song. Tune in. 250 views last week. Pretty good. Good job, you guys. See you next week.
I saw these priests in the church with their glitter and their golden crowns and all this theatrical setting, and to me it made no sense. To me it looked very fake. And I knew that if God exists, and I knew he exists, he is much more supreme than that, than this show with these golden suits and dressed up like clowns with the golden crowns. I knew that this is not serious. This is not what God wants. This is not walking around with candles in circles. This is not what God's after. I knew it.
Different exotic culture or anything like that. Pure, unadulterated, mystical experience is what is offered here. It is nothing like any other form